Hello, this is Baffling Cyclops, and I'm David.
I'm Pepper Proxy.
And I wanted to talk to you today about dollar stores.
Yay, I can't wait.
Because I found an article that broke down the economics of dollar stores.
Okay, tell me more.
So there are more dollar stores in the United States than CVS, Walgreens, Walmarts, and Targets combined.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, 34,000.
Okay.
A new dollar store opens up every 6 hours.
That sounds crazy.
On average. I don't think literally every 6 hours.
Even during the pandemic? Wow.
It's crazy. And part of the reason for that.
Wait, these are all kinds of dollar stores, like rogue dollar stores, right?
Yes. Although
Okay.
most of the dollar stores are the same too. Hold on, let me
Like Dollar General and Dollar
Yeah.
Tree?
which are the same store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just have different names across in different parts of the United States.
Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, actually, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and Family Dollar. Family Dollar is owned by Dollar Tree, so Dollar General is a different store.
Okay,
But
okay.
Family Dollar, which is the other one, and those three stores make up 70% of the market
Well,
for dollar stores.
That makes sense, but I know they're also like rogue dollar stores. Like it's like the dollar sign and then
Pennies, dollars.
yeah.
So, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because you and I used to like to go when we lived in Columbus to Odd Lots,
Yeah, it was Odd Lots and then I think it has another name too.
Big Lots.
Big Lots and Odd Lots.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I found the best Dr. Scholl's
I remember.
shoes there
Yeah.
that I could resell now today for probably at least $100 on Poshmark.
And you got them for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, and I
Store.
wore them and then I like donated them.
My favorite thing I remember buying from Odd Lots in the mid-90s was a Atari 2600 redo with cartridges. And we had fun.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it didn't last for very long. I think we only paid like $45 for it or
At
something.
the most.
Crazy
Yeah,
low
yeah,
amount
at the
because it had
most.
cartridges and
Yeah.
we just had fun reliving my teenage
Yeah.
years for a couple of weeks
Yeah.
and then dumped it, I think.
Okay, so tangent. What was that one game with JJ on Atari?
That wasn't Atari. That was your Sega Genesis.
What, do you know the one with JJ?
Oh.
Okay, so this is a call out to all our listeners, all 14 of them. JJ from, was it Genesis?
I think it was a Sega Genesis you and your boyfriend before me had.
Well, yeah, and my best friend Joe.
Yeah.
We used to play JJ. Okay,
So,
continue.
well, they're a $94 billion industry in the United States.
I'm not surprised because they are the only stores in way underserved communities.
Right. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about today. But one of the other things I wanted to tell you before we even got to that is guess how much profit they make on a dollar. What's their margin?
Oh my God. Well, 80%.
30%, which is great. That's
Yeah,
a great
for that.
margin.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And so, of
So
course...
they make 30 cents on every dollar they sell.
Yep. And one of the things that they do, of course, is buy the odd lots. Like, that's why I bring up the odd lots, is they bring it up. But they also just negotiate down prices on brand names by having them put them in the smaller containers.
Oh. Also probably stuff that's close to expiring. Do they have any bought for stuff? Do they manufacture at all?
Well, they do only in the sense that they make the, like, roll-on deodorant people make $1 version of their product.
Okay.
And the article kind of had a breakdown of that in that it's way more expensive to buy it at the dollar store than it is to buy an actual tube of antiperspirant, because their breakdown
Per
is
like ounce or volume by weight or whatever it is.
so the Scott toilet paper, for example, at Dollar Tree is $2.05 for 100 square feet. If you buy it at Costco, it's $1.87.
Okay, so Costco doesn't sell Scott, but I have to say, you know how poor we were
Yeah.
when we grew up. We had Scott toilet tissue, and my mom would buy one single roll. And this is a house full of women. Like, we had so many girls in that house, and there were like periods happening and pooping happening and just everything in a teeny little bitty duplex that was like maybe 800 square feet, all of us. And we were just like, we would just, that Scott toilet paper, it was a bigger roll, but it was so scratchy. And I think it was like the cheapest you could get back then.
Yeah, and part of the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I knew you would identify with this.
Yeah, I do.
And the other reason is I just started subscribed to this newsletter called The Hustle, which is where I got this article from. And the guy who founded Dollar Tree sounds a little sketchy, as pretty much anyone. Because this is basically, to me, these dollar stores, after reading this article, are on the level of like a payday loan type company.
Because nobody else will go into so many of these neighborhoods because they're afraid or there's
Right.
no money there or whatever.
So they're in low-income neighborhoods. The core demographic of
Kind
the
of
dollar stores
exploiting the customer, isn't it?
are lower-income families who earn less than $40,000 a year. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and they can't afford to buy in larger, cheaper quantities.
I can't agree more. And $40,000 a year seems high. Because if you're talking about Appalachia and like parts of Ohio and parts of even like California, that's like, that would be a millionaire, 40,000 a
Yeah.
year. It's like 18,000 a year.
Well, and listen to this. 75% of Dollar General stores serve areas with a population of 20,000 or less.
Appalachia.
So they're small towns. They have a dollar store. And as you were alluding to earlier, they're strategically placed in food deserts where grocery store options are miles away.
I think my sister Carrie, who lives in the rural outback, I think she calls it like outback or
In the outback of Wisconsin?
yeah. But I think her closest store that she likes to go to is a Dollar General.
Well, that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and their population is very small there.
Well, to start one up is cheaper. So it costs about $250,000 to start a 10,000 square foot Dollar Tree store or dollar store.
Are they
And-
franchised?
Yes, I believe so. And the 180,000 square foot Walmart Supercenter costs $15 million to start.
Yeah.
So even the dollar outlay just to start it up is so much lower. And your Dollar General and dollar stores, they only require 8 full-time employees per store,
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
which is way lower than some of those bigger stores
Yeah.
too. So you can
a lot less.
So you can
Yeah.
start one for way less money and hire less people than you would need to start a larger store.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really really fascinating. The average customer spends $16 per trip to the store,
But they go more often.
which for everything that costs $1,
Yeah.
that means they're buying 16 things, and they usually go for 1 to 2 items per trip, so they're
And
leaving
they come home with more.
with more. Yeah. So I thought that was really fascinating.
That makes me think we need to open up like some kind of like Frankenstein store down like in Bend, Oregon, where people have a lot of money, but there's not a lot of like resources there. And if you could like open up a place that's like you said 8,000 square feet,
10,000 square feet.
10,000 square feet, and you have like the Dollar General like model, but you also have like high-end stuff that people want, like fresh produce or more expensive cuts of meat or whatever. You could make a killing.
You could. It's just I thought that was a really fascinating window into that kind of retail. And so
Yeah.
my question to you is, do you think it's convenient for people to have a store where no one else is willing to open a store? Or do you think they're taking advantage of people who don't have a store near them?
I think it's both.
You think it's a mix?
Yeah.
So you think it's good for the people that live there to have a store?
Absolutely. Like you like a lot of people in poor communities, they don't have like a car or like a motorcycle or a bike or like a bus line. So you have like to have a store there is like great.
Yeah, and it reminded me, we used to in our neighborhood have a store called Red Apple, which was the low end grocery store.
Yeah.
And then Safeway, then QFC, then all the rest, which is
Yeah.
basically Whole Foods, Metro Market, PCC. So, but Red Apple was kind of the low end one, and it got closed down in our neighborhood and is being replaced with an Amazon Go
know.
grocery store,
Yeah, I know.
which is kind of the opposite.
It's complete opposite.
It's like they sell $1 worth of stuff for $8 at the Amazon Go
Yeah.
store, but you don't have to pay. You just walk out with it.
I think that people were walking out with stuff at the Red Apple too.
I think that's true.
Part of the reason why the Red Apple closed. It's also like it's maybe not as bad of a neighborhood, but there are still like people being killed with guns there.
Yeah.
In that like on that corner. So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was an interesting concept, though, and I know you've been on both sides of the equation, like
Yeah.
worked in retail and had to depend on those kind of one-off
Yeah.
stores. So I thought you
Yeah.
would have a really interesting perspective
Yeah.
on.
Well, Joseph's was in Toledo when I grew up, and it was like an independent grocery store. I think they had like 2 or 3 locations. And I have to say, no shame to my mother, no shame to her, but we ended up having to like pay cash for our food because checks weren't working anymore.
Sure.
And like bless their hearts because they made like I think my mom worked really hard and she made sure we were all fed, but I also think Joseph's grocery store in Toledo, Ohio helped, and I think they kind of cut my mom a lot of slack in getting groceries for us and our family. So I don't see Amazon doing that, and I only see like Joseph's or like a little independent Dollar Tree that's franchised and they're just trying to make a buck, but they maybe let people slip by.
Yeah. Well, I know our Safeway down the street from us has a shoplifting problem.
Yes,
Which-
that's true.
And not a secret. And we have actually seen like 8 cashiers and the manager of the store following people down the street trying to get them to give up the groceries that they're holding. Because some people have walked out with the basket or a
Yeah.
cart. Now the cart's locked, so they don't walk out with
Yeah.
a cart anymore, but they have walked out with a full
Yeah.
basket.
Yeah.
So it's pretty dramatic. But I actually think that Safeway came up with an interesting solution because, as we've noted,
I love this solution.
so what they did is they made like a
Shoplifting, easy shoplifting area.
easy shoplifting area right by the door, kind of
Yep.
a grab and go.
Yep.
Get some
Literally.
literally, which I think people use it to grab lunch too.
I do.
So they make inexpensive
Yeah,
sandwiches,
like and potato salad
Potato
and like
salad.
really like coleslaw.
fried chicken.
Yeah.
And they put it in the just the,
Only the wings though.
yeah. And they put it in like steam trays.
Yeah.
And they put it out there, and they don't go after
Right by the door.
right by the door, and they don't go after anyone who just grabs
Yeah.
that food.
Yeah.
they don't go after. They do still go after people that.
Do you remember
more
when we
expensive food.
saw the guy getting apprehended for having was it I don't want to exaggerate, but I think it was 11 packages of steak down his pants?
I do remember that.
Did they resell that steak?
I don't know.
It was in his pants.
It was some people's meat is still valuable after it's been in their pants. I remember though. Do you remember? I think it was right when quarantine started. Somebody went into the Vietnamese market near our house and grabbed crab meat.
Oh, I remember that. That was like king crab. That was at the seafood market.
Yeah, and they just grabbed bags and bags of it and walked out with it.
Yeah, they got caught. That was
They did.
that was over $1,000 worth of shop stealing.
Yeah, but I actually think the Safeway near our house has done such a good job.
Brilliant.
It's way better to shop there than it used to be
Yeah.
when there was shouting and
Yeah.
threatening and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people are hungry. I think that this is why I'm on the fence, because people are flipping hungry. People have troubles. I don't think stealing is the answer, but I get it. And so if somebody's gonna just walk into the Safeway there's a huge issue with drug dependency in our neighborhood. So it's kind of okay, you just shot up with heroin and you're not sleepy? I think you would be sleepy, but okay, heroin's the wrong drug. A different drug, and you're just hungry. I'd rather have them just walk in the door and take a chicken wing or a drumstick and some potato salad and skedaddle versus having the staff at Safeway have to apprehend them and have a
know.
big
That was always
confrontation. I feel bad for the staff.
That was always the worst, to see
Yeah.
a 16 to 18
I
year
know.
old cashier
You know.
have to run after somebody
know.
with the breaking voice, the "excuse me, sir."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting idea, and I thought
I want to open a Dollar General now. You know I do.
I thought the economics of the Dollar General were interesting, although I think the morality of it is sketchy.
Well, yeah, even more so for the independent dollar stores that are in neighborhoods that even Dollar General or Dollar Tree won't go into.
Yeah. And, don't have the leverage that they do, so it's even worse.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was my topic for the week. I thought it was interesting.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I learned something.
Oh. Well, I love you.
I love you too.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And to read our show notes, sign up for our newsletter at bafflingcyclops.com.